Welcome back to our series, The Real Reason You're Not Financially Free. Today, we are tackling one of the most frustrating feelings out there. You're working harder than ever. Your income is finally going up, but somehow you still feel like you're stuck in the same place. So what's going on? Let's get into it. Okay, so our source material for this explainer kicks things off with a pretty bold statement, right? We're all conditioned to think that a bigger paycheck is the ultimate goal, the answer to everything. But what if it's not? What if, in a strange way, it's just making the problem a little bit bigger? And yeah, here's the twist. For so many of us, more income just seems to lead to more complicated problems. Most of the advice out there is all about the earning part. Get that promotion, find a side hustle. And that's all good, but it's only half the story. And honestly, it's a dangerously incomplete half. So let me just ask you this. Does this sound familiar at all? That little voice in your head when you look at your pay stub and think, seriously, where is all this money actually going? If you've ever felt that, you're in good company. And that feeling, it's not really about how much you earn. It's about what happens to the money after it hits your account. This brings us right to our first big idea, your expanding lifestyle. This is where the money starts to vanish. And it doesn't happen with a big bang. It's more like a slow, quiet leak that starts the very second you get that awesome pay raise. What I love about this slide is how perfectly it maps out the emotional roller coaster, right? First, you get that amazing wave of relief. Ah, finally, some breathing room. Then, the subtle upgrades start creeping in. Maybe it's the fancier coffee or ordering dinner in a little more often. Pretty soon, that becomes your new normal. And before you even realize it, you're right back to that same feeling of being stretched, just at a higher price point. And here's the actual mechanic behind it all. It's called lifestyle creep, and it's a super simple, totally predictable cycle. First, your spending just kind of naturally adjusts upward. Then your expectations shift. What used to feel like a treat now feels like a necessity. And boom, without you even noticing, your lifestyle has quietly expanded to fill up every last cent of your new income. So, where does this all lead? Well, that brings us to our second section, the 3 quiet financial drains. This is where we're going to pop the hood and really look at the invisible forces that are silently working against you every single month. This is such a critical point. Your income, no matter how big it is not the end goal. It's just the raw material. It's the opportunity to build wealth, but it's absolutely no guarantee. Your financial future isn't decided by the size of your paycheck. It's decided by what you do with it. And here they are, the 3 big ones. First, you've got that lifestyle creep we just talked about. Second, good old taxes, which, are just a fact of life when you earn more. And third, something called poor allocation, which is really just a fancy way of saying your money doesn't have a plan. The real danger with these 3 is that they're so subtle. They don't feel like emergencies. They're just these slow, quiet leaks in your financial boat. This quote from our source just hits the nail on the head. Lifestyle creep is not about going out and making some huge, reckless purchase. It's not about buying a yacht. It's about all the little upgrades, the slightly nicer apartment, eating out a bit more, that feel completely 100% reasonable in the moment. And this brings us to a really important question you have to ask yourself. Are your expenses going up because your life genuinely requires it, or are they just expanding to fit the space your income creates? That tiny difference between need and allowance is everything. It's where you either win or lose the game. Okay, this is the big pivot point for our whole explainer today. Section 3, from earning to keeping. We figured out the problem. Now let's talk about the incredibly simple shift in your thinking that fixes it. And here it is. The old and frankly exhausting question is, how do I make more? The new, way more powerful question is, how do I keep more of what I'm already making? It's such a small change in wording, but it completely changes your entire approach to money. And that's really the secret. Real financial control doesn't start when you land that 6-figure job. It starts the moment you switch your focus from just getting more money in the door to being way more intentional about what happens to it once it's there. So how do we actually do that? Well, that leads us to our final section, building your financial structure. This is where we stop talking about ideas and start talking about a real, practical plan for giving your money a clear path forward. Let's just be honest for a second. Right now, when your paycheck lands in your account, does it have a set of instructions, a job to do? Or does it just land in one big pile and kind of flow out to bills and expenses until it's gone? This is what the solution looks like. Instead of that one big confusing pile of money, you create separate buckets. You have a slice that's just for growth, for investments. You have a slice for now, that's your lifestyle spending. And you have a slice that's set aside for things like taxes or big savings goals. All of a sudden, every single dollar has a purpose. This is what our source calls a financial structure. Let's just look at the definition. It's a predetermined plan that gives every dollar a job before you spend it, ensuring your money supports your future, not just your present. It's all about being proactive instead of constantly being reactive. As we start to wrap this up, I really want this idea to stick with you. Financial freedom is not about the volume of cash that passes through your hands. It's about the direction you choose to send it in. And this quote? It's the perfect summary for our entire chat today. You don't build wealth by what you earn. You build it by what you keep. It's about how efficient your system is, not just how much fuel you're putting into it. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Is your money actively building something for your future you? Or is its main job just to maintain your life exactly where it is today? And please remember, this whole idea is not about restricting yourself or living on a bare bones budget. It's about awareness. It's about consciously taking control, and that is probably the most powerful financial move you can ever make. So here it is, your final call to action. I want you to take a real, no-judgment look at your finances and ask this one simple question. What percentage of my income am I actually keeping and putting to work for my future? And whatever that number is, please don't feel bad about it. That number isn't a grade. It's not the end of the story. It is simply your starting point on a new, much more powerful path to getting ahead.